Location: between chapters 1 and 3 of Skysworn. Lyndon's third prison was larger than his first two. Renfei pulled the scripted blindfold from his eyes to reveal a large, finished basement with wallpaper and even carpet, with scuff marks where furniture had been moved out of the way in a hurry. There were two doors besides the one through which they'd entered, and both were open. One contained a bed, and the other a tub, toilet, and various constructs in which he sensed water aura. One bedroom and one bathroom, then. As this was his third accommodation under the Skysworn, he was starting to get used to the process. He turned and bowed to Renfei as soon as his blindfold was gone.
"Gratitude for your consideration. It cannot be easy to find such comfortable rooms."
Renfei scowled down at him, the storm cloud floating over her head boiling with unseen lightning.
"It's not, and don't expect visitors this time. Even the other Skysworn couldn't find this place."
"I will continue my training in solitude."
Renfei's dark hair was pulled back even tighter than usual, and her face grew harsh for a moment, as though she thought he was mocking her, but she let out a deep breath after a moment and sighed.
"Try not to burn anything. The walls are scripted against fire, but you could still hurt yourself, and it's hard to get replacements out here for anything you break."
Renfei put her hand on the exit door.
"Don't trust favors from underlords," she advised.
Lyndon was puzzled, but he bowed again.
"I understand."
"If he would stop breaking in, you would be allowed visitors like any other prisoner. If he hadn't taught you the path of black flame, we wouldn't have to hold you prisoner in the first place. And if he could see past his own pride, he wouldn't send you to die in a duel that isn't your own."
Renfei spoke to him occasionally, but rarely about anything other than his captivity. She certainly hadn't given him such earnest advice before. And, to his own discomfort, he believed her. Her grudge was against the people who had put him in this position, not against Lyndon himself, though that came with its own problems. He saluted her by pressing his fists together.
"Gratitude," he said again. "My thanks for your honesty and your concern, but I am where I have chosen to be."
Renfei patted the doorframe as though she wasn't sure what to do with her hands.
"Then, may your choices serve you better in the future, what little future you have."
She left Lyndon alone, for about 15 minutes. There came a series of quick, polite raps at the door, and a moment later it burst open. Ethan strode inside, clutching a fur coat to his chest and shivering. "They demolished the house," he cried. "There is supposed to be a house overhead, but they destroyed it and left the entrance covered in snow. Those scoundrels! How am I supposed to find a basement with no house above it?" Ethan peeled off his coat and tossed it one-handed toward the wall, where it landed perfectly on a coat hook Lyndon hadn't noticed before. "Ah, that's much better. Thank the heavens for temperature-regulating scripts, Quite cozy in here." Yaren appeared in the doorway next, landing at the bottom of the entry stairs as though she'd leaped down. Her scars stood out on cold, reddened cheeks, and she gave Lyndon a look as she hurried inside.
"Bleed me, I hate the snow. Tell the Skysworn to move you somewhere warmer next time, all right?"
Orthos's voice echoed down from overhead.
"Cold? Humans are never comfortable."
Lyndon watched the stairs for a moment, but Orthos didn't appear. Through their bond, he felt the sense of what he might have called focused uncertainty, like Orthos was trying to navigate a difficult problem. When Lyndon realized what it was, he spoke softly to Ethan.
I'm not sure Orthos can fit."
"Nonsense," Ethan cried. He lounged in a soft chair covered by a fuzzy pink blanket, neither of which had been present before he'd arrived. "They broke the entire house. Surely they won't care about the structural integrity of the basement staircase. Squeeze down here, Orthos."
"Shells don't squeeze,"
Orthos shouted back. Nonetheless, there came a deafening scraping and tearing sound from the top of the stairs, and frustration echoed into Lyndon's spirit through their bond. Lyndon winced at every noise. The previous two times, Ethan and the others had infiltrated without destroying anything. He felt somewhat guilty, as the Skysworn were clearly going to great expense to give him comfortable places to live during his imprisonment. He felt he should at least respect their property. Ethan snapped to get his attention. "Let's not waste any more time, shall we? It's been 42 hours since our last lesson. How do you think we should start today?"
"Last time you mentioned the 3 opening tactics Jai Long might use," Lyndon said. "I believe I have some ideas on how to create distance and encourage him to go for a longer fight rather than ending things quickly."
"Wrong. Nice try, though. Yaren, open his mouth." Yaren reached up to grab him by the jaw, pulling his mouth open.
"Best to get a painful cut done with clean and fast,"
she advised.
I can open my own mouth, he tried to say, though with his jaw locked in her grip, it sounded more like, I can open my own mouth. Ethan tossed a pill over his shoulder without looking. It was a tiny sky-blue pill that fell neatly onto Lyndon's tongue and immediately began to dissolve. Cycle it into your pure core, as usual. Yaren released him, and Lyndon closed his mouth, but he didn't follow instructions. Instead, he tucked the pill into the side of his cheek and willed it to dissolve slower. Pardon, but my pure core is still not stabilized from last time. I'm afraid if I try to cycle more Madra to it— What good is adopting a little piglet if I can't fatten it up? Cycle! Cycle it, I say! Though it felt like trying to swallow another mouthful of food at the end of a feast, Lyndon forced the pill down. Even after 2 days since Ethan's last visit, his pure core still buzzed with undigested energy. Not that I'm not grateful for the opportunity to reach low gold in both my cores, but is that really the best thing to focus on right now? Ethan stretched out his hands to warm himself by the fire he'd just created in the corner of the room. Lyndon, never underestimate the value of a hidden card. The right hidden needle revealed at the right time can slay even a sacred lion. Orthos grunted as he pushed his way through the doorway and finally entered the room, leaving a hole torn in each side of the frame. He eyed the fire Ethan had started.
You want to choke on smoke?
I thought you'd oblige me by making a chimney. As Orthos grumbled and moved over to Ethan, preparing his dragon's breath, Little Blue leaped off the turtle's head. She scurried over to Lyndon, running onto his foot and looking up at him. Then, with an excited cheep, she put both hands on his leg and sent him a spark of her power. Lyndon almost told her to stop. His spirit was full of as much energy as he could handle. But somehow her spark of river blue Madra began to gather up and organize the unfiltered power running through his veins. It didn't make much of a difference, a few % at most, but he was grateful for anything. That slight edge, that little bit of help, might be the difference that saved his life.